I'm going live, so.
I mean, my ceiling is pretty fancy.
Yeah, we are live, by the way.
Okay, I will get my shit together.
Good morning, everybody. We're just waiting for Corey to put some pants on. So settle in and hope for the best. There he is. Wait, maybe.
Yeah, I'm here.
There he is. You're sideways. There you go. Hey. That's it. I told everybody you were putting pants on. I'm just hoping that that's...
Actually, I heard that. I heard that. And I actually do have pants on, which is not always the case.
Shoo. Okay, that's cool. How's your back?
Yeah.
Okay. That's better than... So
yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
it's this thing where like it'll get better 1% a day, and then some days it'll get worse by 2 or 3%. You're like, cool, well, here we still are.
Yeah, that was fun, right? Yeah. All right. So yeah, good morning, everybody. Jareen, Fred, Ginny, Chet, Jen, Rakita. The usual suspects are joining us this morning on hashtag coffee. You may have seen my post yesterday. I've decided that it's time for me to come out from the shadows and announce that I am in fact Antifa. That's right.
I love how proud of that you are.
So please report me to the local authorities because we're gonna have some fun. I can make up names, a lot of names, and I could just give them the names of my cadre as people that I don't really approve of how they do in our community. Yes, I'll start with some county commissioners.
Well, I mean, anyone with any World War II vets in their family tree are by definition Antifa.
Oh, my grandfather and my great uncle were hardcore Antifa. They killed a shit ton of boot-looking fascists in North Africa, Italy, and Western Europe in the 1940s. So,
Jen, do pants really even matter anymore?
Nope.
I kind of don't think so.
I think pants are tyranny, and we should fight the power.
Yeah, we should all walk outside without pants on.
That's right.
That's the real revolution.
You know, Corey, I'm going to pull a Cliff Clavin here. Do you know you're from Canada? Do you know about a religious, Christian religious sect called the Doukhobors?
I don't.
Okay, so there are Doukhobor community pockets in the Lower Mainland of BC, out where you find Mennonites and the Amish and other groups that went out to start like utopian farm communities. And the Doukhobors protested violence in a really amazing and peculiar way. And this is you can look this up. I'm not making this up. This is absolutely true. The women of the Doukhobor community, ranging in age from like 16 or 17 up to women in their 80s, would go to a town square or a courthouse or a legislative body like the Parliament in BC, I guess, is one of the places they did this. And they would read a statement about their opposition to violence, and then they would completely disrobe and stand naked in whatever town square or public venue that was for hours, daring the police to put their hands on them and arrest them. This is a real thing. It happened from the World War I era up through the 1950s, at least in that part of Canada and the Northwest, the Pacific Northwest, in the United States. Yeah, so taking off your pants is a legitimate form of protest.
That's crazy.
There you go. Good luck convincing them it's your religious conviction that pants are tyranny, though.
Yep.
I mean, as long as you put a cross next to it, you probably have a better chance of making that come true.
That right.
That religion. That's the prayer we need in schools. Not that Muslim kind or yoga. We need that one kind of prayer in school. So there's that. So yeah, as you can tell, I'm a little salty this morning. By the way, I didn't get to tell Corey this before the show, but I need to be off by about 10:45. Mom's got a doctor's appointment that she put off when all this started. So we're gonna have to go transport Mom to the doctor. She's fine. It's nothing to worry about. So is Greg advocating for naked protests? I am for others because nobody wants to see this. I mean, if the idea is to make people uncomfortable, I'd be a pretty good, you know, discomfort the privileged by showing people Greg naked. That would do it.
Yeah, exactly. Fred said, my father told me he won World War II. He enlisted, Japan surrendered a week later. It's how I learned post hoc. Ergo, Proctor Hawk. I'm ultra Antifa.
Yeah, I will out my entire cadre. I will show you our secret meeting location. Pick me up and question.
I mean, this is kind of it. Is anybody taking minutes? So Greg tagged me on this post on Twitter where somebody outed himself as the CEO of Antifa. That one tweet was fucking hilarious, but the comments were even better.
I didn't even go into the thread. I guess I should.
Oh my God. This lady announced that she was actually the head of HR and she started handling all of Antifa's HR problems. It spiraled out from there. Like, so somebody apparently was, or there was Antifa Karen who was very mad that somebody kept stealing all of her sandwiches out of the fridge. Nice. So the HR lady was like, we're sorry about the 385 sandwiches that have been taken from you, but it looks here on my notes that you've been part of Antifa since Czechs Watch 1942. So that's actually not that many. And also, could you change up to tuna, please?
Nice.
It's really good.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, Fred. Your dad joined the military and Japan immediately surrendered. Dude, they knew.
I mean,
they knew what the fuck was going on.
It's like, gotta get out of here.
My grandfather's favorite little quip about his service was he was a Navy gunner and he served in what was called the Armed Guard. And this is the job where they put you on an oil tanker or, a highly flammable fuel tanker with a 20 millimeter cannon. And you're to guard it from submarines that are firing torpedoes at you. It was like the most dangerous job in the Navy for a while during World War II, especially in the North Atlantic. And he was sunk 3 times, North Africa, Morocco, Anzio, and then in the North Atlantic. And he was assigned a 4th ship in April of 1945. And so he was fond of telling people he was a ship ahead at the end. So, but yeah, he got sunk 3 times during World War II. Well, sunk twice and severely damaged ship once. So, but yeah, he showed them what was what. And my Uncle Theo too. You know what's amazing? Every time we come around to Memorial Day, not Veterans Day, Memorial Day, I think everybody in my family that I know of back to the Civil War came home from the war. Full stop. Nobody in my family that I can think of has died serving in the military. And a lot of them have served. So I find that, I don't know, just peculiar. It doesn't mean anything. It's not, it's not super important, but I said it anyway because it's my show. And that's it. So what do you got, Corey? What's the news?
I mean, there's a lot of protests going on. I just scrolling through Twitter to see if anything new was on. There's actually a video of some asshole with a donut on a stick in front of the cops. Guess what color he is? It's a fucking white dude.
Yeah. Here's an important, like in the last 24 hours, because we've seen protests develop here locally. And this is not strictly a local phenomenon or a local plea, but one of the things that I'm seeing said by my friends who are organizers in the field is white people, young white people, this is not about you. Why don't you lend your support to the protest organizers and ask them how you can be most helpful? That's maybe one of the best things we can do, is understand that this is a protest fight that African Americans have been involved in much more deeply and for much, much longer than we have. And I don't want to take away from anybody who's been protesting for civil rights since the 60s or the 70s or the 80s or the 90s, but we are representative of who can most solve the problem by listening and learning and voting. And what the organizers are asking is, don't show up with your own agenda for overturning, the government. If you are part of an Antifa chapter that actually has membership cards and an agenda, but at the same time, I've always been like, I've stood up for marginalized people for a while now, whether they be our LGBTQ community or our homeless people or my African American friends and neighbors. And that's the most important thing I can do, is ask them, what can I do right now to help? What can I do to make this a good thing? Right.
Yep.
But I should also know that it's my responsibility to learn what those things are before I get there, to know when I walk up that if they tell me something like guard this case of water so people can have a drink during the protest, that's what I need to do. Like, just know that it may be as simple as staying home and making phone calls for a local candidate to replace, a law enforcement official that's elected that might be fascist in nature, or whatever it is in your community. County commissioners who have been, mostly voiceless about what's going on right now, except for Catherine Starkey, our county commissioner, who posted on Twitter, "Why aren't the Philly police guarding the Target store? Won't somebody please think of the billionaire corporation?"
I mean,
that's absolutely no surprise to me that Catherine Starkey went there.
Yeah, they misspelled Karen's name.
That came up in the thread, but I gotta say, it was peak Karening. I mean, she's like the alpha Karen with that.
Yeah, ultra Karen.
Ultra Karen, yes.
Yeah.
Karen Prime.
Oh no. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, for those that are not local, Catherine Starkey is one of our Board of County Commissioners here in Pasco County, who is recently famous for holding patrols where she piles a bunch of code enforcement people in a car and drives around her district, pointing out buildings that are housing homeless people, and then writing threatening letters to the owners of the property to tell them they have to move the homeless people out or they'll be fined every day. And then they go and they clean out the homeless people and they have nowhere to go. And when I asked her about this one time, and it wasn't even about that specifically, the other thing that she said to me specifically directly was, when I see homeless people on the streets in Gulf Harbors, which is an exclusive neighborhood she lives in, I call the police every time, because that makes their lives better.
Yeah.
That's how you help a homeless person, is have them rousted by the cops.
Yeah. That's kind of central to the whole issue, right? Like,
she's been reelected twice, so clearly
like
that
policing
resonates.
But I mean, it's the whole idea that instead of fixing the things that are causing all of that to happen, you just police them and make it visibly go away.
Yes,
because it's easier to sweep a human being under the rug than it is to help them.
Yep.
Which I mean, just morally and ethically, it's deeply fucking bankrupt. I mean, that kind of goes without saying, but that's the mindset, right? It's like, not in my backyard. Yeah. Just like literally bust them to the next state, because then the problem is invisible, and then I look like a hero. But only to dummies, which sadly there are enough of that vote that keep getting these people reelected.
That's who's voting in this community, is people that have that same mindset. And that's been overwhelmingly true for a while now. But we're gaining. We're picking up some steam. Our friend Anthony Avila, friend of the show, Anthony Avila, and his young Democrat friends made 1,000 phone calls over the weekend on behalf of Democratic candidates. By the way, no one has filed to run against Catherine Starkey. She's going to win unopposed.
That's upsetting.
Mm-hmm. Well, only if you like, human rights and stuff. Yeah. I know this is a well I go back to a lot, but I found myself explaining the White Lives Matter thing to somebody today in a reasonable way. This is not somebody that's like has a habit of posting race baiting bullshit. She seems sincerely baffled about why she was getting static for saying White Lives Matter. So I rolled out the fire department analogy. There's a house fire in your neighborhood, and the house is on fire, and the fire trucks roll up. What you're doing is essentially standing in your front yard and saying, all houses matter. Okay. We have to pay attention to the most serious problem first. And the disparity between how African Americans and other minorities of color are treated by law enforcement and in the court system is clearly, with evidence and numbers, bullshit numbers, as Travis Mears told me the other night. You always have some BS numbers to support your view that the world's a terrible place, he said in that thread.
Wow.
I love you, bro. Right. Yeah. That's I'm going to get on my boat and go offshore 5 miles, and I don't have to.
And also, like, he's like a sibling of mine, but he's like a very dumb sibling of mine.
Well, I went after him.
But because that's the thing, because he does that. Like, I've been arguing with him for years and years and years, and those things, like that, like whenever he tries to pull that shit, like, oh, you're just like numbers, you and your stupid data. I just go back to the one well that shuts him the fuck up. His dad gave him to his mom's parents wrapped in a Confederate flag. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And then he shuts the fuck up and orders shots, and then I can't think anymore, which is how he wins arguments.
Yeah, I know this. I know that story, and I kind of went at him a little bit on it the other day about being a son of the South. Good. How come I know what a lynching looks like and you don't? You know, he did not. He didn't seem very happy with that. But anyway, this is the well I was going to. Is that I know I go to this well a lot, but I work with batterers. I work with men who are in trouble for punching, choking, strangling, hitting, throwing phones at, and otherwise abusing their domestic partners, be they men or women. It's a little more common now that we see gay men in this class, but it used to be almost exclusively hetero dudes. Okay. Most, by the way, a lot of them with crosses tattooed somewhere on their body, I must say. But what doesn't do me any good is to call them a lowlife or a piece of shit or a subhuman scum or apes or animals. That doesn't do me any good, but more importantly, it doesn't do their victims any good. Because if I take that stance with someone, even though I believe what they did was heinous and reprehensible and ugly, if I take that position with them, I have absolutely no hope of finding the underlying cause of violence in that household. And inevitably, the underlying cause is power and control mechanisms, right? Is taking power and control away from someone else. So this is what they often tell me. Oh, well, you know, she hits me too. Right? Oh, you know, women abuse men. Women commit domestic violence, right? What they're doing is called minimizing, denying, and blaming. They're basically saying, I'm doing this, but so is everybody else. So when your first instinct is to post a picture of people with dark skin looting a Target store or a local mom and pop business, which is heinous and reprehensible, but you didn't get outraged enough to post the picture of a man being choked to death on the sidewalk by a police officer.
Yep.
If your first response is to post a video of the response to that violence, you're doing the same thing that batterers do in my office every fucking week. Oh, well, you know, she hits me and she spits on me.
Like the subtext to that, and I think this is the real issue. Like the subtext of that is, yeah, but this is supposed to be culturally acceptable, and that's where, you know, assholes like you and me stand up and be like, fuck you and fuck no. Like,
well, let's change that.
Like, exactly. Like maybe where you grow up, right? And like, maybe that's going to be okay for you. But if you're going to be within 10 feet or earshot of me, then
you're going to hear about it.
Yeah. Like that culture stops within earshot or the length of my fist. Like that's just not going to be allowed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been around you before when someone has said something and you've just, without any self-restraint, just let, you know, you're wrong. That's stupid. Stop saying that. We've both pissed people off that way before. Yeah. But I'd like
making friends and influencing people.
And the good news about the context in which I see these batterers is they have to attend. They have to listen to me. I mean, they don't have to do what I say. They don't have to change. They have to survive 26 weeks of me beating the shit out of them with their own behavior as to why they're in the room with me, you know. But if I take that belligerent stance with them, I can't get to the root of what's going on, and I can't help them see it, and I can't help them change it. So I try to have calm, rational conversations with people that want to have those conversations with me, because I know that, I mean, the thread that I'm talking about where somebody, you know, I had to explain the white lies, a firefighter piped up there. Well, it's a poor analogy because sometimes we burn the structure next door to keep the structure. You know, like he was looking for a way out of the analogy, and because he's a firefighter, he had expertise in what firefighters do. So then I used the dinner table analogy, and he went, "Oh, right. If Bob doesn't have any food, you know, and everybody else has food at the table, screaming all diners matter is less important to the person that doesn't have the food, right? You know, that's not valuable to them. So because we won't address it in this bigger racial thing that we're talking about, this bigger discriminatory thing that we're talking about." And
Mears is sitting there saying, "No, he's got food." We're all staring at his empty plate. Right. Okay. All right.
Right. A cursory glance down the table indicated that he must have food because everybody else does. That's the Mears view. He's, he just believes that when someone says to him, there is no disparity. So when I come to the thread with a link to a database and the numbers, the actual numbers, which are worse in Pasco County than they are nationally, by the way, percentage of population, percentage of deaths at the hands of police, we're actually well above the national average in Pasco County, Florida. So when I come to him with numbers like that, well, don't make me get up and walk down there and ask Bill if he's got any food. What the fuck? How selfish of you to ask me to get up and walk over there and make sure he's got some food.
It's been acceptable to be in cultural denial in all of his circles his entire life.
Yeah.
So, while I don't have a lot of sympathy, I can margin up a little bit of empathy because he's going to have to live with me making, I'm the guy putting his puppy face into his own shit, whenever necessary.
Yeah. Fred Eater says, I did some research for one of my episodes a couple of months ago. There are 17 million empty homes in America. There are 500,000 homeless people. Tough to figure out how to solve the problem. Yeah, I had a local idea for an initiative that would basically rehome people in tax-liened or tax seized homes, of which there are well over 1,000 in Pasco County, Florida. And we have around 2,000 homeless people, and some of those are family systems. So the idea would be they're called zombie homes because they're not generating any wealth except any appraised value. But why don't we turn those homes over to contractors to give them a certificate of occupancy and just start putting homeless people in them? And no one wants to hear from me about that. No one thinks that's a workable solution, except for the country of Finland and the state of Utah, which used exactly that system to basically solve their homelessness issues. That's a fact. Anybody living in the woods in Finland wants to live in the woods in Finland. There's no one left that doesn't have an option. They solved it, and they solved it by just housing people in vacant homes that were, not taking homes away from private property owners. That's not what we're talking about. That's already been done. They've been seized for failure to pay taxes because they were abandoned by the family of somebody that owned the house in the 70s. It now belongs to the county. Right. So, it would cost money to do this. That's true. But it would save money in emergency services. It's an old argument. We can do more, and we should do more every day.
Do it
every fucking day.
Maybe Catherine Starkey will take that on.
Yeah, Jen, that's Michelle's bringing up who we're talking about here. Yeah, it's definitely that same plumbing company. That's
for the record,
and he's always been nice to me, and that's the hard part. Is
and honestly,
he's cordial with me, but
I still freaking love the guy like a brother. I really do, but he's got holes in his game. Now, to Mears Plumbing credit, just request Kyle all the time. He is very nice.
Yes, decent chap.
My brother works there.
He reminds me of my friend Corey in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
By the way, and this is something else that I have to say. The Mears Plumbing Company sponsors a lot of community events that we all love and appreciate, and does a lot of charitable work and a lot of free work in the community. We're having a personal issue with the guy whose name is on the side of the trucks because we know him, and he stuck his head above the parapet of the foxhole day before yesterday, and we sort of hammered him.
I mean, honestly, if you're it's just not the day. It's honestly, even Rio messaged me yesterday to say hey, you want to do a podcast on IdPoll? And it's what right wingers talk about identity politics because we have the audacity to feel like maybe minorities should be represented in government. So I just honestly, no, I if you're going to start flinging that term around, please explain to me what you want to accomplish, because if you get off of some weird beaten path right now in any way that suggests that these people are not completely and totally justified doing whatever the fuck they're doing, I'll lose my shit. I will fucking go bananas.
Yeah.
Because it's just not the time for it.
Yeah.
Mom said Kyle's quit trying to rehabilitate his Trump-loving coworkers. Yeah.
Although the last couple of days he's posted a couple of pro Joe Biden things on his Facebook page.
I've seen that, and what Kyle has going for him that I don't is he's way more likable in that crowd than I ever will be.
It's true.
He's a very amiable dude.
He literally looks like Kyle the Kyle the drywaller. He totally looks like he belongs in that world.
And like he's, like finding him on a day where he's not asininely nice. Like I don't.
Right.
He's just that way. So I think like there's a non-zero probability he'll actually be able to get through to people. Now he's going to end up finding out that it's like pushing a rock up a hill and having the rock roll over you 100 times a day. But at least he's trying.
Yeah. So
that happened. My brother's rad.
Let's see. Oh, okay. So we were talking a little bit about rumor control, like some things that are being said that are not true. BuzzFeed is keeping a list of media stories that are turning out to be false, and I will admit firsthand, straight up, there's a couple of things on this list that I posted before I recognized that they were not true. I had to take one down the other day, so there's a list there. But my favorite one is, those of you who are not Tampa Bay area residents may not know this, but at the intersection of Interstate 4 and Interstate 75, there's a redneck guy that owns a piece of property there right at the interchange that for decades now has flown a very large, very obvious Confederate flag, which is visible from like 3 miles away on either interstate as you approach that spot. And it's been, there's been a series of court battles to try and get him taken down. They've lost. He's won. It's private property. He can do what the fuck he wants. And this morning, I saw a post that apparently the flag is down. It's gone. Here's what happened. Last night, some video surfaced of a parking lot somewhere in North Tampa, and a police armored vehicle slowly moving away, and protesters running after it. And the guy that was filming it, they stole the armored vehicle. So it looked like for a minute protesters had actually stolen the Tampa Police Department armored vehicle and were going joyriding in it, which as a human being, I cackle whenever I see a video of somebody taking a cop car. I think it's hilarious. I don't know why. I think it's probably wrong, but it's okay. I find it hilarious when that happens.
There definitely are some other misinformation things. There's a ton of that going around. We should keep talking about it. But
wait. The first thing I thought when I saw it last time was, I hope those fuckers drive that thing right out to the Confederate flag and knock that flagpole down.
Okay.
Just for a minute, I was like, I've taken an armored vehicle. What should I do next? Ding! Cartoon Balloon would have told me, drive directly to the I-4, I-75 intersection and take that fucking flagpole down.
And now you know why Greg is legitimately the
feared and hated by the But by the way, they did take the flag down, but they took it down so no one would do that. And this morning, I'm not making this up, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office is on site to guard that spot. How does that look? I'm sure they would explain, if somebody makes us aware there could be criminal property damage, we have a responsibility to look out for them. That's true. If I said I might get, they would drive by once every 4 hours, make sure my house wasn't on fire. Maybe they wouldn't, because local police aren't really keen on me. But you see what I mean, right?
Yes, Boxer.
But why do they get 4 Hillsborough County Sheriff's cars are parked there this morning? And I can show you the picture. Rob Oben sent me the picture.
There was the remember that picture that I shared back in the day where there was like a guy flying an actual white nationalist organization flag in Pasco County?
Yeah.
So I shared that picture. The cops showed up at my house 4 hours later.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, you're doxing this guy, and that's a crime. Like, I didn't know his address was on it, and that definitely wasn't my intent. Somebody actually pointed it out on Facebook, and I took it down immediately. Because again, it's not my intent to do that, but it is my intent to let people know that we've got actual white nationalists being out and fucking proud in Pasco County, right? So that wasn't a problem at all. The problem was me telling people where he lived.
Yeah.
So, and again, like it's dicey at the letter of the law level, right? Like that, but at the same time, if it was us that had a problem, the likelihood that they'd be super interested in, rolling out the red carpet to protect us, that's already dicey. Now, if you're black, that's the whole issue, right? They're like, they would ignore you. They're just going to ignore you. Statistically.
Until when, Corey? Until when? Until you show up 100, 200 deep in the streets, scaring the shit out of white folk. Until that happens, there would never have been a Trayvon Martin investigation without Black Lives Matter. And that was the flashpoint. Like, it was 9 months before they charged or even really seriously investigated George Zimmerman. 9 months. They weren't going to investigate it at all, except that his family and the local activists made a huge fucking stink. Same thing with the Marbury kid in Georgia, right?
Yeah.
You know, they didn't charge those guys because they saw the video. They charged those guys because we saw the video.
Like that to me, just like this is why. Like, I hope someday, Mears, you actually watch this. And yes, it's going to be kind of uncomfortable a couple of times, but at the same time, like, how many of these things need to happen? Like that, you know, like this is not normal and it's not okay. And you know, it's there because of the way the media works and your sort of self-selected bias for what information goes into your head. You know, a lot of people never see that in that context.
Right.
You know, like it doesn't go up on, you know, MAGA feeds until Fox News tells them that they should be outraged about this, that, or the next thing, right? Like that, and you can see it now. Like I posted the thing about about Antifa. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, there it is. By the way, in case you don't know the area, that's I-75, the highway overpass, and then in front of in back of the white car is the black wrought iron and brick fence that's around the location of the flag. So they are literally posted in front of that this morning. I'm sure that what they're going to say is, well, you know, we have a responsibility to prevent property damage when there's a threat.
Still.
Yeah.
It's not a good look. Yeah, so Dreen just brought up something that is near and dear to our hearts in Pasco County. One of the demands of the leaders of the Tulsa protest have been to end live PD.
Interesting.
Can confirm. Chet said dude who killed Floyd would never have been charged without the riots. I think that's completely true. Yeah. And if the riots didn't continue, the 3 accomplices would never have been being looked at either.
Investigated, right?
Yeah, overlooking the police brutality at the police brutality protest. Yeah, there's some reports of cops, you know, putting their knees on the necks of protesters for solidarity. There's one video of a cop doing that, and once they realized they were being filmed, his partner grabs his knee and puts it onto the guy's back.
See, I'm still enough of a Pollyanna to think that the second cop didn't do it because he knew he was being filmed. He did it because he recognized what the fuck. You know,
well, and this is the thing, right? Like there's going to be cops tomorrow. There's going to be cops the next day. So the only hope we have is to really leave the door open for the cops that are trying to do an honorable job and change the system and the culture around them. Like force that change by any means necessary, whatever legislation, whatever rules you need to put into place, whatever oversight you need to put into place. Like it was time to do that 50 years ago, right? But it has to happen now, right? Like now is absolute that moment, and people shouldn't leave the streets until it gets done.
Yeah, I agree. That, you know, huge systemic change, which is something Elizabeth Warren campaigned on. Huge structural change. When we have an opportunity now. And here's the thing: our brothers and sisters and friends of color have been literally putting their bodies in front of rubber bullets and tear gas for years, for decades now. And I understand that some of us have done that too, but we are the majority. We are still the majority in this country. White America votes. White America politically engages in a way that carries more weight than it should. And so we actually have the mass to change this. You know, it was legislative action by the House and the Senate that ended slavery. And the makeup of that body in that moment was 100% white male.
Yep.
Right? And in the 60s, the civil rights legislation that passed, the makeup of the Congress and the Senate that passed that legislation was overwhelmingly white and male. So we have privilege and power in this process to recognize the unfairness and to demand that it's fixed. Right? We should put out the fucking fire because we are the fire department and we can do it. But what it requires is a lot of phone calls and a lot of up and down ticket vote. What have your local officials said about all of this? What have your local officials spoken out and said? Well, I've met with our sheriff's office to make sure that we're sensitive to the needs of our African American community and other people of color. That we want to make sure they're treated fairly.
Yeah. Anyone in Pasco County other than Rob Marlowe at all?
I'm not even sure Rob has.
I mean, he would be the only one that I can think of that would.
Yeah. No.
Zoe said cops' video recorders should start when they exit their cars and not stop until they get back in the car with no way to stop the coverage of their own. Right. And if there's any gaps, they should immediately be fired.
And Seattle police chief the other day ordered his officers to turn off their body cams.
Yeah, I mean, that's like instantaneous. Whoever gives that order should be immediately fired and put in jail. Like
here's a good example of how that works,
right? Like it's almost like we're gonna leave the camera on as long as it benefits us, because it really does benefits the cops a lot, right? But not when they're fucking up, obviously.
Well, here's a good example: the city of Daytona Beach, like it's a small city, small municipality. They had an outrageously high number of complaints of police brutality against them, and so the chief of police instituted a 100% cameras on rule. They had them. They were just in a closet gathering dust. And the year that they turned them on, guess what happened? Police brutality complaints plummeted. Get that? Not that they were proven wrong. The number of complaints plummeted because cops knew that there was the potential that they would be held accountable for bullshit.
Yeah. No, it's real. Like that's the body cam thing. It's a huge part of this. And it's one of the ways that we can start to limit it. I mean, the really fucked up thing is the culture of being able to be completely and totally flippant with a human life that happens to be black is so intense that two people filming the guy had like absolutely no effect on him whatsoever. Even when they checked for a pulse, and then he kept his knee on the guy's neck for another 2 minutes and 50 seconds or some shit like that. Like even being filmed, like it's so dark in the culture where that could happen and three other guys could sit there. Ash Gallagher just showed up. The Minnesota chief of police told the Floyd family via CNN that he sees the other three as equal to the main cop. While legalities aren't always easy to navigate, the personality, he personally believes they are just as guilty. So, I mean, that's not nothing.
I have more on that, though. For those that don't know, Keith Ellison, who is the Minnesota State Attorney General.
Yeah, didn't they knock it up to his office?
He is personally going to be
damn Daniel
handling the prosecution investigation. However, he was on MSNBC this morning. And for those of you that don't know, Keith Ellison is the first Muslim who was ever elected to Congress and the first black person from Minnesota who was ever elected to Congress. And he served, I guess, a few terms, and now he's back in Minnesota, and he's the AG. But she asked him specifically about that statement, and he said, I've heard nothing about that from the mayor's office, and frankly, we're going to base what we charge on the evidence that we can. He was very careful to say, don't expect those three to be charged at the same level or for the level of charge of Chauvin to change, because that's the right thing to do as the prosecutor, is not get sucked into a conversation about, yes, we'll definit's definitely do that. Right.
It has to be. And this is the really sad, there's, the family's calling for murder one, that kind of thing like that. Unless there's direct evidence that it was premeditated, you can't prove murder one. Right. And I mean, you can make the argument that he had to have known because they checked his pulse and stuff. And like, that's I'm sympathetic to that. But, murder three, reckless negligence of a human life is obvious, provable. The guy goes to jail. Right.
Yeah.
And
furthermore, the maximum penalty for that in Minnesota is 25 years.
That's the thing. Like, yeah. And the I guess the tough thing is it was, Ash says, navigating the legalities are difficult. And I agree, is that the anger for an entire broken system is being funneled into this one event. And we're not going to get any feeling of resolution. I don't think anyone will by anything that happens. Right. At a complete level, because tomorrow the cops are still going to be, and to something Dave said a while back up, right? There's all sorts of buildings in Tampa that are on fire and they've got 6 police cars protecting a Confederate flag. Right? Like that, when Dave Myers is right, he is right times a million.
I was surprised. There was a video posted or a photo posted of a woman taking a dump on an overturned and burned police car in Salt Lake City. And I was like, man, I'm not going to be at all surprised when a photo of Dave Myers doing that shows up.
Yep.
I haven't seen that one. Your mom is saying, I love the footage of police arresting a black man and then finding out he was FBI.
Dude, I saw that. Oh my God.
Oh man. Yeah, take them in, boys.
Yeah. He's like, how many fake charges do you want to level at me before I whip out my FBI ID?
Well, I don't know. I'm wondering if he wasn't an infiltrator.
I mean, that's the thing. What's FBI doing out there just hanging out?
Right. Yeah.
Oh man.
Interesting. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
We could have had Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Oy.
But those emails. That murder list.
And really, like, this might be still happening under Hillary Clinton.
Pizzagate. Donna's piping up. Pizzagate.
Yeah. But I mean, if it was, I think there would actually be a possibility of systemic change that would have the White House as a partner.
Yeah.
This is like literally fucking release the dog Smithers. Right?
Yeah.
Like that, it's a joke.
Yeah. Yeah. And if there's one image that encapsulates where we are right now as a country, it's the photograph of the White House last night with all the lights off. He literally did the trick where when somebody knocks on your door, you turn out the lights and you go hide in the basement so nobody knows you're home. He literally did that last night.
Well, not only that, but he freaking tweeted about that in 2014, 2015, suggesting that was how you could tell that, apparently they had the lights out at the White House, probably because they were switching them over to the fucking rainbow lights.
Colors.
Said that was a gestalt for how the country goes. Because of course there's a tweet for that as well.
That's funny, Jim, that you say that. I did get teary-eyed seeing the smoke billow in front of the Washington Monument. Then I hoped it was the Trump Hotel. The best teacher I ever had was this is a Ron Eckstein story, and I just remember that Virginia knows Ron Eckstein. Ron Eckstein was my American history teacher at Hudson High School, and he decided to quit law school and become a teacher after he got tear gassed at the Lincoln Memorial during a protest. That was what changed his mind about what direction his life needed to take. He needed to start talking to kids about civic engagement and the weight of history and understanding that nothing is new in racist language and race. Like, he really did a good job of instilling that in us. And it happened to him. He got tear gassed as a law school student at the Lincoln Memorial, and it changed the course of his life. And he ended up teaching for 30 years in Pasco County, that poor dumb sucker. But yeah, that's where I learned. Yeah, Jenny had him. There's so many people in this town that had Ron Eckstein as a teacher, and he is beloved among us. Anyway, those of us that did the work.
Yeah.
I would skip 4 classes and then go to Eckstein's class and then skip the rest of the day. That's how much fun his class was. Yeah.
Well,
hey, there was some good news. Although they did not take out the Confederate flag pole in Tampa. In Birmingham, Alabama, there's been a long court fight over the Confederate monuments in some parks in the city of Birmingham, and the state attorney general of Alabama has been fighting them tooth and nail to keep those monuments up. That's not a problem anymore because overnight
they were corrected.
Patriots took down those monuments on behalf of the people of Alabama. All the rest of the people of Alabama. And the headquarters of the Daughters of the American Confederacy also burned in the last couple of days, which, from a historic archive point of view, boo-hoo, but historians are like, yes. Yeah. That was a Jim Crow organization. In other words, it was started in that period when all the Confederate monuments started to go up in the South. And the Daughters of the Confederacy are one of the groups that funded and put up those bronze monuments long after the end of the Civil War. Don't ever forget that nobody started putting up monuments in the South to the Confederacy until 1890 through around 1918. And they were doing that to show that they still very much, they had taken power back after Reconstruction ended. Yeah. So that's who got their headquarters burned this week. I mean,
Jenny said not sorry. I had to side with her on that. Zoe brought up the Lincoln Project did a video about the Confederate flag that I think got released recently. I saw it today. I
haven't seen that one yet.
I reposted it. Biggest participation trophy in history. I mean, and for racists.
So what else? Oh, it's hurricane season.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
There was a little spaceship that took off.
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
Went up there and made out with the ISS and spermed in some dudes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that went a weird way.
I did it. I went
totally
there.
Sexualized the space program.
Sorry. Yep.
Yeah.
We're we're just a bunch of weird monkeys stuck in the sky.
Let me show you my probe.
Weird.
Yeah. What the fuck,
Yep.
Corey? I'm right with you on that, chat. Let's see. So hey, they arrested somebody in the torching of the courthouse in Tennessee.
Yeah, wasn't it a white dude?
Guess what? Yeah, white dude.
Yeah.
White dude with a history of heroin arrests. And I'm not going to speculate on what kind of organizations he might have belonged to, but I think I have a guess. But I also think the other side is going to, like, I've had people that I know feel this way about Antifa liking my post of that picture. So I think what they're thinking is, oh, see, this is an Antifa guy. So anybody white who does anything bad now, Antifa.
That's the thing. I can't find it too because I've talked about it a couple of times, and I've gone back and tried to find what podcast I was listening to, and I can't find it. But it was a interview, and I thought it was with Chris Hayes, but it was an interview with a reporter that embedded with Antifa in the early days, like in Portland,
right?
And they were saying like, yeah, there's a bunch of people that wanted to go punch Nazis because punching Nazis.
You're supposed to want to punch
Nazis. It's a meme now, right? Like that's a thing. But they were entirely peaceful protests. And it wasn't until the Proud Boys showed up, the actual, like the literal Proud Boys from, out of town showed up, coordinated with the fucking sheriff and basically created violent, battles in the streets.
Yep. And my friend Leslie can tell you about that because she lives in Seattle where that's an ongoing problem now.
Yeah. And seriously, they were coordinating with the cops to make sure that, it turned violent. And so this is the thing, like and I think, I'm going to butcher an MLK quote, which I should never do, but he was basically saying anytime that there's a riot, it helps George Wallace. Nixon, I was talking to Greg before air about this. Nixon won in a landslide because he was going to bring law and order back because there was all these riots, right? It's like the peaceful protest is an absolute must. But they're going out and turning them into violent things because that actually helps Trump. And it's disgusting and gross and pathetic, but he could win off this.
I don't think so.
I honestly I had that same feeling, Greg, but all of history so far in the modern version of the United States proves you and I wrong. So at what point should we make our guess? You know what I mean? Like, and again, like Trump isn't Nixon. Nixon was a fucking rational human being compared to this fucking asshat.
I just linked an article in the comments that you should probably read called "In Defense of Looting." It was written during right after the Ferguson uprising. Yeah. But
believe me,
it makes the case. Well, no, it makes the case that while Martin Luther King and his movement espoused nonviolence, they understood the value of the threat of violence very well. Right? They knew that
there's part of that for sure.
They didn't go to New York City, right? To march. They went to Selma, Alabama. Right? They went to places where there was the likelihood of violent backlash against what they were doing to show that inherently who the bad guys were. Now, part of his problem with looting and rioting around that was that it took light away from what was happening, right? It deflected. However, the argument made in this article is that John F. Kennedy did not work towards civil rights legislation because of Martin Luther King. He did so because Bobby told him the rioting will get worse.
Yep.
If you don't do this.
I think there's something to that. Like you power doesn't ever cede anything. It must be taken.
Right.
And there's a real sort of 1-2 punch to this. Dave Meyer said Trump will win again. We are that dumb. I just wanted to read that so that I could pause dramatically and then say, "Hope not."
Nice. Gina, you should absolutely do a live read. Or no, it's Boxer Cat. Wait, who I just missed it. Who said that? Oh, yeah, it was Ash. Yeah, you should definitely do a reading of the letter from Birmingham jail.
Yeah.
We will repost
stop
that shit
watching
immediately.
And do that now.
Yes. We like that idea.
That's good.
All right. I got to go. I'm late already.
Okay. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for joining us, everyone. We'll be back, in
Wednesday.
47 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing we'll do. Okay, we love you guys very much. Sasquatch is real. Keep those comments and cards and letters coming. Please throw us a like. There's only 2 likes down there. Come on. Throw us a like and share this back to your social media platform if you would be so kind. We would love that. I like seeing you guys repost. I try to put a heart on any of them I see float across my feed. When you do repost it, we appreciate it very much. And, we're growing a bit. We're almost at 200 viewers. We need to get to 1,000. So spread the word and show them this video. That's my shameless plug for the day.
Yep, especially if they're Antifa, ironically or otherwise.
Right. Sasquatch, firmly Antifa. That's why you only get blurry pictures.